Alright, how's it going? This is Sam Welker with thinkparticle.com, and this is the TP Toolkit Visual Documentation Series. And in this series, or in this video, excuse me, we're going to be talking about using Turbulence FD with the Thinking Particle Toolkit to get really powerful simulations and renders. Turbulence FD does not come with effectors. It comes with turbulence and vorticity and dissipation and wind, but you can't really, it's more of a collective item, and to add more control you need to use thinking particles or other sort of objects to move the simulation around. So in this video we're going to be talking about doing that with the TP toolkit, with the integrated tools we've built into the plugin. So this does require Turbulence FD. A license of Turbulence FD is required to use this. I'm not sure if it works with the education version, so I can't promise that, but you do need to have Turbulence FD to use this. Otherwise, when you add these to your scene, it will just tell you that you don't have Turbulence FD plugin installed, and it will not add the tools you need. So you do need to purchase that at jawset.com, which is found at jawset.com, like that. So go ahead, I'm going to keep on repeating myself. The TP toolkit, if you open that up and add, say, some MoGraph emitters and simple emitters, and then the TFD emitter, which is down here, we're going to add 2 of those. That'll get you started in this scene. So one thing to note is that in the current build, the TP-TFD follow isn't working. I can't figure out why. I'm going to get in touch with Joshua at Jawset. It is Turbulence FD. I cannot get it to work on, unless it's on my current build of Cinema 4D. But I've updated it lately and it's not really fixing anything. The thinking particles are not able to be controlled by the TFD simulation, but you can still control particles. So if we rotate this, just normal particles, those are still being controlled, or I guess another word is advected, I think. The velocity is still being controlled by the simulation, so that does work, but with thinking particles right now it's not working. So keep that in mind. We will put out a fix or an update to that build as soon as it's available, if that's something on our end. But you know, we never changed anything and it just stopped working one day. So we'll go ahead and let you know as we know how to fix that. So we have our emitter. So let's go ahead and see how we did this. We have a MoGraph emitter that emits from a sphere in 3 different directions, or in every direction, with a small speed and a only 25 particles per second, with the particle emissions style set to volume. And then we have some more particles coming down, and these particles are going to kill all the smoke and suck it in and move all the smoke that they get near. So we have our TP-TFD emitter. So what we're going to do is go ahead and go through each of the settings in here. So we don't need that. We have our particle group called emit, and that's going to be the emitter particle group. Okay, so we're going to create a new simulation for our thinking particles, and we're going to call it test simulation. And we're going to set the voxel size to 6. Okay, and then we're going to, if you don't know how to use Turbulence FD yet, go ahead and check out our website. We have some training. It's a few years old, but all of the training on our website is still completely applicable to Turbulence FD. And there's a lot of other great training online too. So go ahead and start by finding, or by adding your TFD container, and then getting your particle set, and your particle group is going to be set here. You can set whether you can select to use subgroups or not. We're going to leave that checked. And then the emitter is active from or just in general to enable or disable the emitter. So we're going to start by enabling only the TFD emitter, and then we'll enable the killer emitter later, because it's so killer. It's so cool, guys. And then we have our start and end simulation time. Next, we have, well, let's go ahead and start a cached simulation. And that did not work. Why didn't that work? One second. Clumsy me, I left the emitter active unchecked. So now that we have it checked, you can see that these particles are emitting. Each particle has a sphere, basically, that it's emitting in a radius of 35 centimeters. So it's a 70 centimeter sphere in diameter. Okay. And then, oops, I hit play. Shouldn't have hit play. There we go. And then we can set it to be a collision. Oh my gosh. There we go. Okay. We can set it to be a collision object or a fill object, and a restrict to polygon selection. That actually, just ignore that. That does absolutely nothing. We'll take that out in a future release. But these particles emit, and then they are pushed out by the actual particle itself. And with the velocity force set to 5, it allows us to take that particle velocity and apply that to the smoke to give us this curling look, this effect that just adds this great control. So basically, when you emit with a velocity weight of 0, I'll show you what that does. Okay, the velocity comes out and it doesn't really do anything. The smoke just exists. But if you do it again with a velocity weight of 1, it's going to take that particle's velocity and apply it to that smoke, and that's going to use the aerodynamic simulation of the fluid simulation to create this variation that frankly looks much more realistic. Then you can use your normal force to expand that, or say in this case pressure. These sort of things can add more, I guess, pressure to each particle, and that will push out the smoke even further. Okay, and then I have my density value set to 1. So the rest of this is just, if you don't know how to use Turbulence FD, go ahead and check that out online. There's a ton of fantastic training there. The only other thing I'm going to cover here is the particle property and intensity, particle emission intensity section. So you can select it so that the particles will emit at the beginning of their age, and at the end of their age, they will not really emit anything at all. So as you can see, it's starting to get darker already. And that's because the particles emit at the beginning of their lifespan, and as they get older, they emit less. So it's a ramp down. It's a spline controlling it. You can also use textures, a volume texture, and set that to luminance to add more variation to your emission, things like that. You can change the radius size, and that will allow you to control the simulation and have a bigger or smaller emission. It does need to, I think, be the same size. Well, it should be the same size or bigger than the voxel sizes, because otherwise you're going to get the particle to a point where it's going to be in between voxels, and it's not going to emit the proper amount. The next one is the killer emitter, and then what we did here was we added a pressure of -50 and a density value of -15. So what that does is it creates these blue little particles, and they turn into a vacuum. And now all the smoke, because of that pressure, is moving towards those particles. And then also because of the velocity weight, they're moving, when they're hit by the particle, down. And then because of the density, the density is just disappearing. So if we set that to, say, -2, then when that particle gets hit, or when that smoke gets hit, it's going to take away the density, but not nearly as quickly as it was before. So it's kind of like a value dissipator. I don't know. It's a vacuum. It takes away, it subtracts the density in each voxel when it hits those particles. So that is how that works. So if you don't already understand Turbulence FD, go ahead and check out the rest of the training we have on that. And across the web, there's a lot of great free and paid training out there that will teach you exactly what you need to know. And especially Cinema 4D Advanced Productions 2, Simon has a fantastic series on Turbulence FD, and I highly recommend it. I've been using TFD since its beta, and or since its very, very, very early stages of release. And in my experience, it is fantastic, and I learned a ton from Simon. So I can't recommend that series enough. Anyways, so we talked about how to emit smoke and take away smoke from and fire and fuel, and those sort of things all apply the same way as density. In a Turbulence FD simulation with particles, how to move smoke and fire with velocity weight, how to control over life the intensity with the particle emission intensity, and also the radius and emit, start and end an emitter active. We covered these things in the particle groups, and that is how you use the TP-TFD emitter object. And again, sorry that the TP-TFD follow object isn't working yet. Again, I know you need to, if you already know how to do this, you do have to check cache velocity, and that's something that you're going to have to use. And even if you check that, it's not following it. So again, that's not on our end, but we'll get that fixed for you as soon as we can if there's anything we can do. And thank you for watching this. Find the TP Toolkit at thinkparticle.com to get your own copy. And you can find the rest of the series on our website as well. And I'm Sam Welker, and I will see you guys later. Thanks for watching. Bye.